Challenge trivia Jeopardy style? What is this, Christmas? Plus, CT goes down hard, Jordan is being shifty, Josh bails on his word, date night for Brad and Emily, Laurel is doing what Laurel wants to do, and Johnny's going along for the ride, Aneesa with the near upset over my winner pick Jenny, and Derrick slays another elimination beast in controversial fashion. It's the Challenge Battle of the Eras episode 4 recap coming up right now. What up, my fellow Challenge lovers? Welcome to The Challenge Historian, where we dive deep into all things MTV's The Challenge, past, present, or future if it's happening in the Challenge universe. We are here to document it. I am your host and dedicated Challenge Historian, Jacob Hollaball. Thank you so very, very much for being here with me on this early Thursday morning. Apologize, we're a few hours late here. We had some complications in watching the episode over here at HQ last night, so ended up watching it very, very late, past midnight, and decided to wait till still early hours here, 7:30, as we hit record, which was a good thing because we did need to gather a little bit of intel, just enough to talk about what happens at the end of this episode via some of the lives and the Twitter commentary and things that were coming from cast members late last night. So I didn't, consume all of it, but enough to hopefully have a decent picture. So if you haven't, I can share some of what we have learned so far about the controversial ending to the elimination here with you at the end of this podcast. Quick programming notes up front. Challenge Mania Chicago last weekend was a blast. Got to meet a bunch of people, a bunch of you listening, and I want to say thank you so much to each and every one of you that came up and said hello or said you listened to the show, anything like that. And I want to apologize. You now know, I think I have said in the past on this, made jokes of, my guy Fessy always says he's the introvert and no one believes him, and maybe they shouldn't, but have said, I actually am, as much as I like talking into this microphone every week. There's a big reason why I maybe do it by myself. And so a lot of you realized this weekend, I'm sure, in saying hello to me and I awkwardly say thank you and kind of keep walking or anything like that. I apologize. I'm going to get better at the social interaction side of this thing, but it was amazing to hear from a lot of you. It was amazing to get to chat with a bunch of you for a bit about the challenge. And of course, to meet CT, the legend himself, and Katie, the legend herself, and get to reacquaint with the Marks, Derricks, Ryans, Scotts, everyone else of the world. So fantastic time at Challenge Mania. Look forward to many more of those in the future. Actual programming here, reminders, heads up. Speaking of Challenge Mania, Scott from Challenge Mania did say on Twitter a couple of days ago, let out that there may or may not be an episode of Battle of the Eras next week on the 11th, that there was maybe the VMAs were being moved for the presidential debate or this, that, and the other. But I don't know. I didn't follow up on if that's true or if they've announced that or looked at TV Guide or anything like that. But there's a chance there's no challenge episode next Wednesday, which if there's not, there will be no recap until the following week. If there is, there will be a recap next week. That's all we've got on the schedule for the foreseeable future. So, agenda for tonight, as usual, walk through the episode, hit the major storylines, which there were definitely 2 or 3 that stood above the rest here. We'll take our time with, and then we will do some awards and predictions. And the predictions segment at the end is going to always be essentially, for as long as the format is what it is for Battle of the Eras right now, where we talk about the targets. So if we get to the end, I talk about the eliminations, and we go to awards, and you're like, wait a minute, you didn't even talk about the new targets and the people bailing on being targets. I'm going to just always do that during predictions because, that's kind of talking about the next episode. It's where it fits the best. So thank you as always for being here. Love and appreciate each and every one of you. Let's go now to Battle of the Eras episode 4 recap. Here we go. Starting with the opening house segment, just a couple quick thoughts here. One, we get a moment, the first of multiple this episode, of CT and Derrick being just kind of funny, laying around in the beds, having a good time, goofing around. And while it's amazing and great, I do feel like they're not the only ones doing this, but it feels like the editing team in production has chosen to only show us era 1 doing this, at least in the episodes themselves. So try to be like, remember Era 1, they're fun, they goof around, they have all this. I'm confident they're not the only ones having little funny conversations in the beds, but it does feel like they're kind of like making sure we know Era 1 is doing this, and they're not as concerned about showing us the rest of the teams potentially doing this. Do I think Era 2 is? Probably not, though I'm sure Ryan and Derrick are like real life besties. I bet they're goofing around or having some fun. I'm sure there's people in Era 3. I'm sure there's people in Era 4 all goofing around, but they really want to let us know Era 1 for sure is doing that, which is great because it's fun every time we get to see it. And there's multiple of these this episode. We'll talk about the big one later on. We get a moment with Jenny and Aneesa. Jenny kind of pumping Aneesa up, offering to, be her coach while they're in the house together. It's a wonderful moment. It's really, really nice. And it does highlight, we get, I actually don't even remember now. I think it's in this part that we get the like flashback of like Aneesa did tear her knee up really bad at the end of Ride or Dies, and, the recovery process for that. I think that's here, but we'll kind of talk about that in the Aneesa story later with the elimination. I do love, no matter what, though, it's a really nice moment between the two of them, and I just love Jenny getting more screen time to prove that she should be here, and is an incredible cast member that got betrayed by them editing out her entire main storyline on Total Madness. And then finally, we had Tori and Josh making up, air quotes for those listening, not watching. We're using heavy air quotes on the making up there. It feels like they made up enough to be assured that like we're still in an alliance. The Vacation Alliance is referenced there. Tori, Josh, Devin, Casey, Aneesa. And it feels like they made up for that. I don't know that the friendship is what it was before it came into the house or is ever going to be again afterwards, but it, whatever, they make up, and so the Vacation Alliance is intact, at least until the end of the episode when they lose a member. To the daily challenge we go, and obviously this is right up your boy's alley. This is the best thing we could possibly have and was expected, but doesn't make it any less amazing when we get it, that we get the confirmation. Yes, they're obviously doing trivia. That was a absolute certainty, but I was a little nervous that somehow they would botch and it wouldn't just be challenge only trivia, which would make no sense. But, it is what they did. Hats off to them. And they did the coolest version possible. I love the Jeopardy style scoring system. The difficulty of the questions was actually like, when they first show the board, I'm like, are the 400s actually going to be hard? And it was like, yeah, the 400s are hard. Like those are actual really hard questions. And the 100s should be, to most challenge fans or most of the people who are there for most of these big seminal moments, should be fairly easy. So I thought they did an amazing job with the questions, the categories, the scoring system, the whole thing. The only single part I wish, which I actually think is what was happening and we just didn't get to see, I think they got to pick the order they fell off as far as the team of like who they kind of wanted up there last, but I'm not 100% confident. If that's what I would have liked them to do, and I do think that's what they did. So basically perfect game, with the exception of, as usual, trivia has to be heights over water, and as usual, for some reason, they see the huge benefit to them. They see this huge benefit in it's not good enough for you to be scared or to drop into the water. You have to fall in a precarious way. We have to make sure that someone gets hurt here. So you have to hang by your knees. And so when you drop, you're automatically flipping, and some of you will land on your face, some on your back. A couple will be lucky and hit feet first, etc. I've never understood it. I never will understand it. I don't think I'm not going to say zero fans out there that are like, yeah, I watched the challenge for the crazy falls into the water. I hope someone gets hurt. I'm sure there's that person's out there. Maybe that person's listening. Hello to you, psychopath that is listening, because I don't understand. Like, I don't think that adds anything. It's similar to the whole vomit thing, although I think there's way more people, based off the shows like A Ridiculousness or Tosh.0, that are like, yeah, the vomit montages are actually funny and cool, and I can have a laugh at that. And I get that a little more. But hey, they're not only going to fall in the water, but we're almost going to guarantee that someone gets really hurt here, doesn't seem, I guess that's kind of a similar argument to like watching people get hurt on Tosh.0 or Ridiculousness. But I digress. Maybe I just proved my own point wrong. I personally don't see any benefit to it. It seems like you're just putting your cast members that you need to stay around in danger because it really hurts the season. Like if CT is actually hurt and out here, like that hurts your season in a major, major way. So I don't get it. I think they should do every single version of this should just be the floor falls out from under you and you fall. So it's like scary, it's just like all of a sudden you're falling, but it is falling feet first, pencil, safe as can be from falling that high every single time. I only saw one cast member, but it was Emily, I believe I saw, and I'm sure this is true then, but no one else that I saw confirmed that the cast did convince them to lower the bar. I don't remember if she was saying that like after CT's fall or from the very beginning, but that the cast was like, we're not doing this unless it is a little bit lower. And then you see multiple people, I think Emily was even one of them, of like holding the bar with their hands. And so the moment they dropped, they kind of caught themselves and hung and then fell and tried to fall, easily. Again, just let them fall straight. Tell them to jump off. It may be even better. If you don't jump quick enough, you get too scared and don't jump, there's like a penalty. I don't know, but let them fall safely. It's not that hard. It's not losing anything to the show. The questions that they asked, again, great job with the difficulty, with the variety, some amazing ones. I will say, obviously, as the challenge historian, I was playing right along with them. I was answering the questions before, TJ could give the answer or they could give the answer. I did not miss any of them outside of the geography category. The geography category certainly was the toughest. Everything else, clean slate, no problem. All of them nailed it. The geography category, a little bit difficult. I might have been able to guess the way Theo did the colors of the flag, but I definitely was getting the Aegean Sea wrong. That was by far the hardest question. That was so ridiculously hard of a question. I felt horrible that Kyland, of all people, got that one, as I do believe he knows he's memorized tons and tons and tons of stuff of this show. He knows all the winners, all the seasons, all the locations of the season and the finals, and a bunch of names of dailies and limbs and all this stuff. The Aegean Sea is pretty out there. Like that's not something I consider like challenge history. It's like, do you know really good world geography and then can place your challenge history? Well, they were in this country, so it must have been this sea. That's difficult. So definitely got that one wrong as he did. And then I do just love, again, they reference all the eras of the show. They really did spread out the love of the types of questions and referencing fun moments and obscure moments and everything in between. And in particular, impressed that they brought out the Sean Duffy Road Rules All-Stars question. Just didn't expect that to be, the level of question they were going to. Loved that they did. CT falls. He's fine, as expected. And thank goodness. Just because it was expected that he was fine does not mean that it was any less of a relief that he was ultimately fine. But again, the fact they put that in the trailer so heavily just told me like he's going to be okay. They wouldn't tell us that CT was going home early on the season via injury beforehand if that was true, because that would make a lot of people maybe not be as interested to watch the season. So I'm glad he's fine, but for gosh sake, give the man his shoes. Why does he have to walk back in the house with his shoes and still looking like dripping wet almost from the challenge? Like they have to take their clothes off to put on whatever the wetsuits and everything they were wearing to fall into the water. Could those have not gone with him to the hospital and then back? Could he not have shoes on to walk into the castle later that night? Or maybe that was him choice of like, this will be funny and be better TV and play it up and, really go with the shtick. I don't know, but glad he's okay. Sticking with that theme, let's quickly discuss the fact that Era 1 is a mess. Now, a few of them are having a good time. Brad's off having a great time with Emily. They have their little date night while they're out at the club. It's very, very cute. It's very wonderful. Seems like they're having an absolutely great time, at least for now. Emily, it seems, is about to have a big bone to pick with her teammate Laurel, but that's for next week. Rachel seems to be doing good, chilling in the background, ready to whoop everyone's ass whenever she is called upon. But for now, it's kind of just chilling on the side. The rest of the team is down pretty bad. They've obviously lost the first two members that everyone lost, and Mark and Katie. And then now they are losing Aneesa in this episode, and Darrell is holding his back, and CT is going to the hospital. And it is just, Tina is doing her best to hold it down for the team, and it is looking a little shambly. It is smart of them and expert gameplay of them to use this to their advantage of like, why is anyone scared of us? Everyone should want us around. You can beat us and everything up to and including a final. Keep us around. That is very smart of them to use that as their advantage. I'm very nervous about Darrell's back. It seems like it's going to be a thing, and I'm going to be very bummed out about it. We get, the fun, amazing moment of Derrick and CT and Darrell scheming, and Darrell being like, I can't actually sit or lay down. I need to be standing or else my back is in severe pain. And CT being like, opposite. I need to be laying down or else my butt cheek is in severe pain and my back is right there with it. And Derrick's like, oh my gosh, what is going on here? I guess I just have to beat everyone in elimination. Love that scene between them. But yeah, I'm pretty nervous that we're headed straight for the Darrell's back is causing him to leave or lose an elimination or something, because he cannot compete in a real way. And that is going to be a super big bummer. But we do get Derrick, pitching this whole Air One is a mess is the reason you shouldn't pick us. And his pitch was great. I love that he just was like, who cares? I'm bringing the paper, I'm laying it out, and I'm putting it in front of Johnny and Laurel's face and being like, we're friends. Our team sucks. I don't know why you don't want to work with us and have us around. Here it is, all on paper laid out. His pitch was fantastic. He did everything he possibly could. Super proud of him. Not necessarily the master strategist isn't what we think of from Derrick. And, is saying Air One's a mess, you should want us around a master level strategy? No, but he crushes the pitch, crushes it from an entertainment value. Hats off to Derrick. Now on to Jordan and Laurel's deal. That is obviously in place. I guess they never technically 100% say, I have a deal of some kind with each other. I don't think they use the word deal, but they do both basically reference like, I am working with the other person. And let's start with Jordan, because not only does he clearly have a deal with Laurel, he clearly trusts her 100% because he 100% through that challenge. He definitely got those last couple questions wrong, including the Cheyenne one, on purpose. His confessional, is wonderfully played. He knows exactly how to be an amazing reality TV cast member, and just beautifully plays the confessional of, kind of like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And, smirking a little bit to kind of tell you, I do know what you're talking about. And you are correct, but I'm just not going to say those words out loud. I get it from his perspective. He's definitely like, I'm going to be, he knows how to navigate being the biggest threat in the house. I think as good or better than anyone else, better than the CTs or the Karas or the Bananas or anyone else that is in that top tier. The moment I walk in the house, everyone is like, shit, I don't think we can beat that guy in a final. We got to get him out before the final. Number one target, get that person out. There's a handful of them that kind of have that status. And I think he navigates the best how to convince people of like, it's okay. You should have me around. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I get it. You don't want to run a final against me. So like, I promise I won't be there for the final, but like, I should be here right now. He's the best, it seems, at finding his way, navigating through that. And here, he's definitely attached himself to, arguably the best woman in the house as far as who's going to have the power the most often and everything else, and that he can feel good is going to be there the whole time to continue having that resource at his disposal. And the final part of it, the kind of next level thinking then in this particular moment is also, I don't think he wanted to win and have to be the one that picks Aneesa or doesn't pick Aneesa. I think, on his own team, his security is that Tori and therefore Devin, because of Tori, are in lockstep with him, and that Naya will be in lockstep with him separate from Tori and Devin, but still will like work with him completely. And that Avery probably will too, because she isn't as connected to everyone. So he's like, I'm really connected to my team, but it's thinly. connected. It could be broken quickly. And in Tori and Devin's case, it's broken pretty quickly, or is just annoying and frustrating if Jordan suddenly is the one that has to pick. Is it Aneesa that goes in, or is it Laurel? Is it Aneesa, or is it Jenny? And picking between those people is not something he is interested in doing, and being put in the position of like, she was your ride or die, when we all know that wasn't actually true, or just in the position of Tori and Devin being like, that's our best friend. You do not throw her in, or we have a big problem. I think he wanted to avoid that. So I think he's thinking, I'm going to avoid all that, and I'm going to throw this at the end. And Laurel's got my back, and I'm throwing it versus Laurel, so I know she is in power. I have that determined, and I'll be good, and everything will be great. So I think that's what's happening. Is it going to alienate him on his team? I don't know, because he's so good at convincing them that it should all be fine, and he all work with him, and it's all good, it's all gravy. And when he does need to win, that he probably will end up winning. Laurel's side of it, now she's losing it a bit here, like socially in the house. Certainly coming off All Stars 4, now here it's like a little, it's turning into Laurel versus everyone. And it seems like she's the one turning it into that. This doesn't seem to be one of the fans making this narrative or anything else, or like, oh, you got to pick a side, Laurel versus Cara. It's like, sure, whatever, if you want to, but it feels like she's losing it a little bit. But she isn't wrong in her thinking here at all. Like, from purely Laurel's perspective, what is good for Laurel, she is spot on and correct. Like, as she basically says here, I think to Horacio, like, I want to run the final with all the strongest guys in the house. And that is you, and that is Jordan, and that is Johnny, and CT. You can add CT to the list, although he isn't referenced directly in that moment. But Jordan is her number one, essentially. Like, she references, on War of the Worlds 2, he went in and took out the people that were responsible for getting me out and beat them. And I remember that, and I want to, which is like cool, I guess. I think he did it because he wanted to win the season. It wasn't purely like, I must avenge Laurel now. They've done Laurel wrong. But either way, create the story you want to create. And they've always had a good relationship. They've always made a lot of sense as alliance members to me, as kind of similar roles within the house and similar stature within the game. And she wants not only a great relationship with him, but all those others I just said. She wants CT on Era 1, Bananas on Era 2, Jordan on 3, Horacio on Era 4, the best guy on every team in her mind, and potentially, arguably correct, is who she wants there to run a final, because in her head, she's either going to run a final by herself, which she's comfortable with, or have to be partnered up at stages or for the whole thing with a man. And she wants the absolute best possible to be there, and for those best possible people to want to work with her and be the one that picks her in the final, setting her up for an easy, dominant win. All makes sense, all fantastic, all great. And it's just, win at all costs, because eliminations are not scary to her, is the last element of it. Of like, this could backfire, this could blow up, but like, I'm not scared of going into elimination. I'll just win all the eliminations. That's typically what I do. So I totally get it. I get why it's alienating everyone on her team and in the house for the most part, and is going to cause big problems, especially next week if she's throwing challenges to try to get rid of Cara or Emily. Sure, but I, for now, understand her strategy of tunnel vision of like, I believe I'm the best one here, and I can win all these things, and I can win eliminations if I have to. So I'm just going for what is the best, most direct path to Laurel winning the Challenge 40. Totally get it. Do I think Bananas should push harder for Era 1 and 2 being a pair? Yes. I think while Era 3 and 4 might win dailies, if you could just push the divide of like the first two eras and the second two eras are where the divide is, Era 1 and 2 are rolling together, then, even if Era 3 and 4 are winning dailies, you're going against, Era 1 and 2 would then get pitted against each other in eliminations, if that's where the, political divide broke down in the house. And right now, maybe day one, if I'm Bananas, I'm like, I don't want to go against Era 1's men in eliminations. But right now, on whatever day they're on, it's starting to look like you might want to go against Era 1's men in eliminations. As long as it's not Derrick, if you get one of the others, they're not doing it so hot. But he knows Laurel. and he knows the game that they're playing and how he can easily say, this was Laurel's decision, and what do you want me to do? Do what Tony did last week? Y'all didn't like that. So he knows everything that's going on. He takes the easy and probably correct road for now and just says, hey, Laurel ain't backing down, so that's what we're doing. We get to the arena, and the game they play is sick. I absolutely love the game that they play, minus the rules questions, of course. What's new? But if the pegs, the jacks, would have just been properly secured in the board, had a little more of a little like clasp or something, like a little more secured so they're not falling out all over the place, then fantastic game, fantastic elimination. Love everything about it. Let's talk about Aneesa and Jenny. First, Aneesa nearly pulls the major upset, and she shows incredible improvement in doing so. Now, do gotta say, any and all of my dislike in the past for Aneesa being regularly cast on this show is and has been, it's all been there. It's very, very real. Talk about it all the time, mention it every single time that we talk cast and we talk each season that she is on. But all of that, my dislike for her being cast throughout Era 4 has been the repetition of the storyline, which is different than she sucks or I don't like her or anything of that, which I feel like we get an unnecessary amount of that from the fanhood when it's just as simple as like the story of her trying to be the underdog and coming up short is, we've seen it a dozen times. And when you see a movie a dozen times, you don't really need to see it again. That's all it is. But she does clearly work harder than most fans give her credit for, because 2 years post a major knee injury, which comes with major physical therapy and recovery, to come in and be in way better cardio shape, way better physical shape than she was on Ride or Die, which I believe is like, from what we see here and the little we got to see the other parts of the season, is like kind of night and day. Like, she's way better shape right now on this season than she was on Ride or Die. And to be able to do that and have that kind of improvement and advancement after the huge major setback and difficulty that is tearing basically everything in your knee and doing physical therapy on that for months on end before you even start, like that setback, to then not only just get back to where you were on Ride or Dies, but advance way past that, is super impressive. She is clearly working her ass off outside of the show, at least right now, in the present, in the time between these last couple seasons to this one. So shout out to her for that. Am I still kind of tired of the storyline? Absolutely. I don't need to see it any more times, but I still think she was a legendary cast member at the beginning, a fantastic cast member throughout most of her run, and I've just been bored with the same story many times over, and that's that. Jenny, on the other side, has me concerned. My winner's pick, I know it was a long race. Again, speaking to the impressiveness of Aneesa and Jenny, they're doing 1 to 2 at a time for most of them. So that's, 20 plus they each kind of drop a time or two. So it's like 23, 24 attempts at this running back and forth sprint as fast as you can. It takes a while. It is exhausting, but the wheezing, whether the wheezing was like, all real, whether they amplified the sound, made it louder, they replayed it, they're known to do things of that nature, to bring up the drama. Good editing could be in there. I don't know, but it sounded bad, and it looked like someone who isn't going to fare well in a final, and she is my finals pick, and I would love to see her do well. And so that had me slightly concerned, but she does get the job done right at the very end there and gets the win and gets to go back to her team. On the men's side is where all the controversy is. Derrick and Horacio, they both go super fast. They both crush it. And the ending is highly questionable and wacky and the type of stuff that just, we're on season 40. In reality, we're on season like 51 of the show. These things on this season can't be happening. We can't have this huge confusion in this, like, nah, this was the rule and this is how this went and this is how you ended up winning and this, that, and the other. We can't have these questions. We really need this to be the only time all season anything of this nature happens, and having it happen once is already too many times. But to recap, there's a missing peg. They get to the last one. They flash the score. They say it's 39-37. They both throw the ball up. Derrick and Horacio get their pegs. Derrick seemingly all 3 that he needs. Horacio is 1. They both catch the ball, put it in the board. It seems like Derrick does it first, but Horacio is just kind of like walking nonchalantly. He puts his in. They show the boards, and it looks like Derrick has one missing, and Horacio is done. They shake hands. Neither of them knows what happens. Horacio seems to think like, I won. Derrick seems to be like, what's going on here? I thought I turned around and you hadn't put it in yet. Like, what's going on? And then they announce Derrick as the winner. And everyone immediately online went to, hey, there's a missing peg. So the things that I learned in the brief bit I was online last night was, again, most of this coming from Scott Yeager, the Challenge Mania co-host with Derrick. And I'm sure he said they talked about it extensively, obviously, on their podcast. I'm sure we can go get the full story from him there. I just didn't have time to listen to the podcast before recording this one for you. But he did say on Twitter that, the missing peg is on the board. If you look at the picture, it's a little ways in. It's just kind of like stuffed in with the rest of them because there was a member of production who, for each of them, whose job was any of the pegs that fell out. After you put it in the board, it was supposed to be good. And if they fell out because poor design here, it's, the 5 pegs on it, all the weight is on the outside. You just put the one in and it can fall out very easily as you put the other ones in, or just because it could fall out. There was someone from production supposed to put any pegs that fell out back in. And for some reason on Derrick's board, they had just kind of shoved one in amongst the others and like stuck it on, not in one of the holes itself. So Derrick did in fact have all 40 on the board at the end and did in fact have all 40 on there first before Horacio. Assuming all that's true, 1, make things that stay in the board, or make it a rule that it's on you to keep them in the board. If things fall out, you got to pick it up and put it back in, and your time does not stop till they're all 40 in the board in the right place. Remember, like Laurel on War of the Worlds 2, famously losing because she had just kind of shoved one of her sticks in next to the hole that it was actually supposed to be in. Things like that. Make concrete, firm rules, and don't have production members be involved in any way in finishing the game that you have. And then, from Horacio's standpoint, I would be super pissed because it does seem like he was under the direct belief of like, I don't need to go fast here because, I won. Like, Derrick's not done. I'm going to win. And so maybe it wouldn't have mattered. Maybe it was just that last single time that he is doing that kind of like a little more lackadaisical, and Derrick's ball fell first and he would have got to the board first regardless. But you clearly have one guy who thinks he has won and is confused at what is going on the other side. And the other side, at no fault of Derrick's, is not technically finished, not technically by the rule book. Like, there's an open hole, and so the peg is on the board, but it's not in the hole. There's obvious confusion. There's something should have been done. Is it great that the something, I guess, would have been like some sort of reset and like redoing of some portion of this? No, that's horrible, but it feels more fair or straightforward than what ends up happening here. And so, yeah, I'm very intrigued to hear everyone's version of the story and get as many details about it. This cast is obviously like half of them have Patreons, half of them, the other half are going live after every episode. All that info is out there. As you hear, consume any of it, feel free to comment it below or point us in the right direction of getting the best info on this. But we knew coming into the season, Horacio had made a couple comments on social media of like, he might be done with the challenge. And if this is how he goes out, I would understand the ultimate competitor that Horacio is being like, this isn't, I play, like, I compete and I need the competitions to be above board. I need the competitions to be ironclad, well-run operations because this shit matters too much to me to have something like this situation occur and be the reason he's losing. So if he never comes back to the challenge, it's not just singularly because of this reason, this moment right here, but like, damn, would that be a big blow? And that's why you got to be, they just have to have these things on a season of this magnitude need to be ironed out and need to be better. Derrick, of course, did nothing wrong. deserves in every right the win here. It is not anything against Derrick and the fantastic job he does and the addition to his lengthy resume, challenge history here in eliminations and otherwise. So love Derrick. Shout out to Derrick. Incredible job. Deserves the win, but Horacio deserves to feel like, what the fuck is this and what the fuck are the rules and why is it like this on this big monumental season? Awards time. Best quote. Look, there was a bunch this episode, but there's only two we're gonna nominate because two stood above the rest. While there was a lot. We're really getting some great confessional content. I mean, Tina, if she's around for the whole season, is gonna be hard to beat for confessional queen or king of the season, but there's a lot making a play for it. But best quote of this episode, two nominees. First one, Avery. I'm a pervert for sherbet, which comes out at the end of her saying, it's great that Emily and Brad are hooking up. I can't hook up in this house. My boyfriend, maybe husband, I don't know. She did call the children stepchildren last week. Maybe they're secretly already married. I don't know. But regardless, she's like, I can't have any sexual fun here because my partner is not here. So good for them. I'll live vicariously, and I'm a pervert for sherbet. And I don't know what it means. She doesn't know what it means. Production doesn't know what it means, but we also all know what it means somehow, some way. It's great. Avery came into our lives on the Real World Portland and into the Challenge House as a little bit of a freak. Always has been, always will be. Love it. God bless you, Adam. God bless you, Avery. Fantastic. Second nominee, CT. I shit myself yesterday. We are not the problem. End quote. Unreal. From that amazing moment, and Derrick and Laurel, I think both had said we are not the problem, and then CT just laughing admits to them, like, I shit myself yesterday, right? Like, how is that? How are we the problem here? I died. I absolutely died, and that gets up even above I'm a pervert for sherbet. CT saying, I shit myself yesterday, gets the quote of the week. And the best moment. Him, Laurel, and Derrick, that moment is the best moment of the episode. That's the winner. The other nominees were CT and Derrick goofing around at the beginning. Just getting to do challenge trivia, Jeopardy style in general is just amazing. Laurel and Darrell going at it. Definitely need to discuss that momentarily here. Darrell ain't taking shit from Laurel. He isn't letting little snide comments. And like the whole Target thing, I guess if you might as well, it's for the cameras or whatever, it's for entertainment purposes. Like, you might as well get mad at the people that put the targets on you, but like, there's not that many people to pick from, and there's not very many good reasons for them and anything else. So I love Darrell standing up and like, what, like, fuck you too. Like, what are you talking about? Fuck me. Like, I had to pick someone. I'm not picking Cara. Like, what do you think is going to happen? Laurel. And clearly there's maybe some more going on there. I don't know. He definitely deservedly, Darrell does not like the Emily gave me an actual massage, sports therapy style massage, because I don't know if you know this, but I blew out my back in the last elimination and I probably shouldn't be here and I'm old and get off of me. And it definitely felt like Laurel was trying to insinuate something there beyond Emily's just helping you. And so Darrell's rightfully pissed. Emily is rightfully pissed about that. So yeah, looking forward to more fireworks there, because Laurel seems to be bringing the fireworks this season, especially in the next episode. Derrick's "May I approach the bench" moment, love that. The ending of both eliminations is great. And Corey and Josh both staying silent during the targets, talk about that in a moment, is great. But yeah, Derrick, Darrell, CT, that's the moment of the episode. MVP, we know where this is going. Horacio, CT, Aneesa, and Laurel all get votes, all are on the ballot. Derrick is, of course, the MVP of this episode, from the pitch he makes, all the funny moments, the elimination win, the whole thing. Derrick, MVP. Now, for the targets and for predictions for next week. The targets are Tina, CT, Emily, Nehemiah, Devin, Tori, Olivia, Kyland. Most of those people nominated themselves. Tina did, CT did, Emily did, Olivia did, Tori did. So, Nehemiah, Devin, and Kyland, the boys basically here, were not willing to self-nominate or step up. Nehemiah's, I think, maybe would have got around to it and had a little more of a reason and less drama to it, of just like, hey, Ryan's already been in here. Derrick's been a captain the very first time around, or I think, or his name was just more involved. It's like, Nehemiah, you haven't been involved. It'll be you. Sure. Got it. He seems fine with it. Devin and Kyland are not fine with it. We never heard Devin and Corey. We get the confessionals, we get their little team meeting, and them both in confessionals saying, like, we're all going to take turns. It's going to be great. It's rotation, no problem. But we don't hear them ever say, between the two of them, because it's only the two of them, who is next in the rotation. And so unless that happened and Corey said, I'll go next, no harm, no foul here from Corey being like, you can say it just as easily as I can say I go next. So I guess neither of us wants to say next in the moment. And so, yeah, I don't think there's any harm or foul here from Corey or Devin. I do think it hurts the team camaraderie a little, but it also felt a little like, you know, the alliance within the team, yet again, kind of sort of strong arming a little of like, Corey, you're at the bottom of this for all of us. And him being like, I don't have to say anything. I don't have to do that necessarily. Josh, on the other hand, though, I do remember there being a scene where he is asked directly by Jenny, leading a little team meeting, of who wants to nominate themselves so that I don't have to say names if and when I win elimination. And I'm pretty sure Josh said, I'll do it, to Jenny. Jenny's in the room. She asked the question and he says, I will do it. And then he has no interest in doing it. And not to place any blame on Jenny. The blame is on Josh here. But again, Jenny was there. She asked the question and he said it to her. So she knows. And I felt like a little bit in the sand. She's like, does anyone want to do it? Like, no one? And like, I felt like she could have been like, Josh, you said you were going to do it. Is that still okay? At least like ask him directly. But this is on Josh, not her. Say, yes, I said I would do it. I'm doing it. Or I know, you know, Kyland, you're in a bad enough position on your team, it seems like already now. Anyways, you might as well go ahead and be like, didn't Josh say he was going to do it? Like, you know, call him out there in the moment. But I get him being like, you know, I don't want to go against CT again. But also, you got Nehemiah and Devin in there. Like, you got some people you could beat. In, you know, CT coming out of the hospital, maybe you could even beat him. Like, step up, own it, do the thing, do the moment. But he's feeling like he's got as good of relationships across the teams in the house of like, I just need to keep avoiding elimination every time. I've got a good setup here that I can avoid it, you know, most of the time. So he doesn't stand on his word. Don't love that. I think he's going to have to, you know, work through those feelings and how his team feels about that next week and beyond. But for now, he is going to be completely safe. And predictions for next week are as follows. We see in the next week on, Era 2 maybe throwing the challenge so that probably they can get Emily at risk, because I guess Laurel is determined to just have a team of her and Bananas and show up to a final where it's just her, Bananas, and Jordan. And TJ says, you win. And we're going to see who wins between Jordan and Bananas here. But yeah, it seems like Era 2 is going to throw it. So my prediction then is that Era 2 is definitely going to be in elimination one way or the other. And I think Era 1 is going to be in there with them. And I think CT and Emily are then going to get the wins. We, of course, also, not a prediction, we see in the next week on, it looks like is the week where we get the Cara Laurel big confrontation and argument. So a lot of fireworks to look forward to here. Again, I don't know if it's true, but Scott usually if anyone has info, Scott usually has info, and did say that there's a chance that there isn't a challenge episode next Wednesday night and is scheduled for scheduling purposes or whatever. So if that's the case, of course, we will not be back. If that is not the case and there is an episode, as you would assume, then we will be back next Wednesday night, reporting live from Maine for the next 2 on time. So please let Emily get a shot at going against Laurel in elimination. Please, please, please. I don't know how that's even possible, but I want to see that happen. But otherwise, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here and watching. I will talk to you next week or in 2 weeks, depending when we see the next episode of the challenge. Until then, peace.